Hey, it's Bronze Age Nerd, and here's this week's comic haul. So I've been trying to figure out for a while now what I want to do about posting mail calls and new comic book days. In my environment, I don't really go to an LCS for my new comic books. I do go to LCSs or just other comic shops, even if they're not local to me. And I buy comics, but not new monthly comics. I usually pre-order those. Right now I'm doing all my pre-orders through Comics Elite, and I have a few that are still being fulfilled by Things from Another World. So I've been trying to figure out how to get you that content. Of all the new comics I pick up, I know people like checking out hauls and new comics, but I don't want to post 3 or 4 videos a week as I get different shipments from different places. So I'm going to try to compile all the hauls into one video per week and put it out. And that's this video. So we'll see how this goes. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this format. All right, so first up this week, we have an eBay auction. For some reason, I did not pre-order this book. I don't know why. I was getting all the Future State #1s. This one just fell through the cracks, and it's an important one. Probably the most important one so far. Teen Titans #1. This is the A cover. I also got a B cover. I already got that one. I left it upstairs. I have an A and a B cover now. Brand new comic. I got it for a pretty good price still, which is great. I see some auctions are really starting to jump up. Okay, next in I got a little fulfillment from a backed project I did for Gem Mint Collectibles. I'm sure you're familiar with him. Much more familiar with him than with me. He did a special Vampirella Gem Mint cover, and so I got the gold version. I thought that was pretty cool. And they included a little trading card with that, which is kind of neat. All right, this one comes to us from the Great North, the Great White Northern Country of Canada. And unfortunately, it came damaged. There's a corner ding on this comic. I can't really show damages very easily on my current setup. I just don't have the resolution. I'm using a webcam. I just can't show it. But there is a corner ding on this. I'm going to contact the seller. Just at least let him know to package their comics better. We'll see if he does anything about it. So yeah, Darth Vader #5, and this is from 2015. It's the first appearance of Eowyn Astarte. I totally mispronounced that, I'm sure. She's a woman who's engineered to replace Darth Vader. It's also the first appearance of Morit Astarte, which is her twin brother. First appearance of Carbon, a Mon Calamari commander during the Clone Wars. And the first appearance of Toulon Voidgazer, a research and development specialist for Dr. Silo, who engineered Eowyn Astarte, probably? I don't know. Star Wars names are weird, and I haven't heard this one pronounced out loud yet. So basically, it's like a 4 times key. A couple of those don't matter very much, but Star Wars books that are multiple keys that are still affordable, get them while you can. All right, so next up, this is an order from Eastside Comics. So some absolute fire comics that were available over at Eastside Comics. These covers are great. I don't like to use the word fire, but I think it totally applies to these types of covers. The first 2 are just sexy glamour covers, right? The artist, I'm probably seriously gonna mispronounce this, Kirill Repin. I'm not really sure. That could be Gaelic. I really don't know. I'm not familiar with the artist's name. I've seen several of their covers before and really liked them. There's a G.I. Joe Snake Eyes Dead Game cover with Baroness on it on a motorcycle that I really am interested in and looking for. But these are Sacred 6 covers, and they're just super hot. There's the Vampirella, and I think this character... Oh, I don't even remember this character's name. But that's another Sacred character, so that was a little pack I got from them. But I just threw those on because I was ordering something from Eastside Comics anyway. What I really wanted is this comic, and that's the Inyuk Lee Gwenom vs. Carnage #1 variant cover. The Face It Tiger, you just hit the jackpot, where she's all venomized. So that's pretty cool. The 1 in 25 Inyuk Lee cover really took off. And so I'm hoping this cover starts to see some of that same momentum. We're super stoked to get that. Next up, I have an Instagram order I did from one of my favorite Instagram sellers. I don't know if he's comfortable with me saying his name, so I'll leave it out for now. Let's just say he smashes, and you might understand what that means if you know who it is. First up, I got a newsstand Star Wars. He had a few of these I've already picked up. This is Star Wars 10. I'm getting my hands on any 35-cent newsstand Star Wars comics I can, and I wish this was the 35-cent variant. Otherwise, I mean, I'd be doing pretty well. But there's the Star Wars 3. All right, I also got the X-Men 92 series, X-Men #1 annual, the Shattershot event. I just love this cover. It's just a classic piece of art. I think they used that on one of the X-Men trades from that era. I don't know. I see that cover all the time and I just really like it. All right, so next we have a kind of controversial character's first appearance, I guess. I think this is sort of widely accepted as her first appearance key. This is Domino's key for a first appearance, but it's really confusing. She was being portrayed as Domino by another character. So it wasn't really Domino. It was a shapeshifter and named Copycat. And I think her cameo is supposed to be in X-Force 8, and this is her first full, but it's a really murky first appearance situation, especially since her art, appeared in New Mutants 98. And you could say that's the first appearance of Domino, but really it was just Copycat. It's one of those weird ones that the market will have to decide. I think they lean towards this book, though. Pretty much any X character I'm going after their first appearances if I can, so I thought that seemed like a good one. This book heated up a little bit, and it's a super cheap book historically, but it heated up a little bit when the Deadpool MCU stuff got confirmed, and that is Deadpool's 90s miniseries that he had. And this is in pretty high grade, probably like a 9.4 to a 9.6. And then this is all from that same seller. The next two books were ones I've been after for a while, and I actually picked up a newsstand copy of this recently. So this one is Uncanny X-Men 213. It's the first time that Betsy Braddock, Psylocke, joins the X-Men officially, and she adopts the name Psylocke. So it's a Psylocke key, and then it's also the first cameo appearance of Mr. Sinister. And so I just picked up a pretty good looking newsstand copy of this, but I wanted to get a second copy. I'm pretty into Mr. Sinister spec right now. I have a couple copies of his first widely accepted appearance in 221, a newsstand and a direct edition. And I'm getting the newsstand signed by Chris Claremont right now at CGC. So continuing that theme, this is Uncanny X-Men 239. And this is the first cover appearance of Mr. Sinister, which is pretty obvious. And boy, wouldn't it be cool if this was his first appearance? Because that would be the perfect cover. That 221, it's a neat cover in its own way, but it has nothing to do with Mr. Sinister, which kind of ruins the value of it a little bit, in my opinion. There's been a lot of talk recently about some key collector fuckery, and let's dive into it for a little bit here, because that's Uncanny X-Men 239, right? They list it as the first cover and second appearance of Mr. Sinister. They list it as the first cover appearance and mention of Madeline Pryor as the Goblin Queen, and Madeline Pryor in Goblin Queen costume first occurs in Uncanny X-Men 234. So that's a strange one. But leaving the Madeline Pryor part of it aside, which you could dive into a little bit, they also list the comic I just showed, Uncanny X-Men 213. They also list that as the first cameo appearance of Mr. Sinister. Well, let's talk about this for a second. I'm probably gonna do a whole video on this. A first cameo appearance of a character is their first appearance. Leave out the word cameo and it's still true. The phrase that was used a lot back in the 80s and 90s that I remember, which I preferred, and it's a subtle difference, is first appearance in cameo. Now it's been changed to first cameo appearance, but reordering those words doesn't make it any less true. If I were to tell you, when's the first time a character appears in comics? If you really stop and think about that question, whether it's a cameo or a full appearance or a second appearance, whatever it is. Well, cameo or first appearance. Whatever it is, first appearance or cameo appearance, the first time they appear in comics is their first appearance. So let's dive into that a little bit. The first appearance of a character in a comic book, whether it's full or cameo, doesn't actually matter. It's the first appearance, the first time they show up. And then if you want to have a discussion of first appearance and cameo and then first full appearance, that's almost a separate deal. The super classic example, of course, is Hulk 180 and Hulk 181. Hulk 180, Wolverine shows up at the end. Everyone calls it his cameo. And Hulk 181, where he's on the cover and appears throughout the issue, they call his full appearance. That's fine if you want to word it that way. I totally understand that. But you can't dispute that Hulk 180 is his first appearance in comics. That's just how it works. There's no dicing it any other way. That's their first appearance. Now, how much value you place on the first appearance based on how much they matter in the book they're in is obviously up to the individual collector. But we have to call a spade, and a first appearance is a first appearance. So if that's their first appearance, and let's go back to Mr. Sinister. If his first appearance is Uncanny X-Men 213 I just showed you, whether it's a cameo or a full, 221 is his second appearance. It could be his second appearance, first full appearance, but it can't be, well, more specifically, Uncanny 239 can't be his second appearance because he's appeared 3 times in comics at that point. So that's where it gets a little silly and just something you have to kind of dive into. And I wanted to touch on it for a second. Again, I'm probably gonna do a whole video on this. There's some really important examples that are coming up. Oddly enough, most of them with X characters, although not completely, but you do have some really confusing ones. Eddie Brock and Venom, there's a lot of confusion around his first appearance because there's multiple issues you'd have to look out for if you want all of his first appearance arc, so to speak. But Wolverine, Mr. Sinister, Gambit, all have kind of high profile issues with their first appearance sequencing. And it's interesting, I think. So something that's worth looking out for and thinking about as you're collecting comics, which one matters to you and which one matters to other collectors, because that's going to affect the price of the comics. So moving on to the last comics I got from that seller. First one, these go together, so I'll show them both. The Nom 52 and the Nom 53, featuring the Punisher. So these comics are important because they explain a huge part of the origin of the Punisher, and they explain why and how he picked up the skull that he uses on his chest. Now that's super relevant to the times we live in. There's a lot of talk about Marvel and what they can or should do about the usage of the Punisher skull in a lot of politically oriented or politically charged ways these days. There's a lot of people that use that logo for things that Frank Castle doesn't represent. And I've heard a lot of good opinions on it. One opinion I respect quite a bit is from Reggie Collects, who advises that Marvel should go after protecting their IP. And I agree with that, because regardless of the political situation, a company should protect their IP, and they shouldn't allow it to go used everywhere. So I agree with that. It's a complicated issue. I don't want to get too politically involved in what's going on, but politics are just part of that, and it affects the value of those two comics. More importantly, for my reasons, the Punisher is coming to the larger MCU after the Netflix show. We have a lot of reports, maybe even confirmed at this point, that Jon Bernthal is going to reprise his role, or at least the Punisher is coming back in some way to the MCU. And because of that, I think Punisher books are something to go after right now. So I went after those. All right, so next up we have my Comics Elite shipment that came. There's a lot of stuff in this that was during a holiday sale. So a lot of these issues are a little bit older. Wonder Woman 750, the Zerdy cover. So a lot of these came in one of their Truth mystery boxes. That was one of them. One of the stars of that show was Return of the Valkyries, the variant cover, #1 there. And that was a key too with the return of Jane Foster. I love that this one got included. I love this cover, and they included the black and white Punchline #1 Cho with the Joker as Jesus in the background there. I think Punchline has a bright future ahead of her, and that's going to be a cover that people talk about for a while, especially once they really catch on that it happened. I think it kind of flew a little under the radar because there were so many Punchline variants. I have the regular version of that, getting the black and white. Very cool. I'm very excited about that. This is one of the Tales from the Dark Multiverse books. I can't remember which one this one is. It's a Zerdy cover though. And I have another version of this I got in another mystery box from them. Batman Superman #1. That's the I think it's John Zhang cover. Oh yeah, the Joker, You're the Villain #1. I think that's Ryan Brown. This is definitely Ryan Brown. The Marvel Comics 1000. I actually wonder about this book because I don't know how many people read it, because it's kind of an interesting read or made it all the way through. But there's a lot of stuff happening there that I think could set up a lot of the events that are going to happen over the next few years in the MCU, in the not the MCU, the Marvel Comics universe, the 616 universe. This is another one that got included, like a lot of these, with that truth box. They were, mystery boxes basically. Dark Red #1, Van Helsing, Hellfire, oversized issue. Man, I do not know which issue of Red Sonja this is, but it's kind of the black, white, and blood cover. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, so Spawn 314, and that's the Greg Capullo McFarlane cover. And I thought this was a sweet version of that cover. I like the halo. This cover is just haunting. Something is Killing the Children #14. That's just an emotional cover. Mirka Andolfo's Unsacred #3, and the black and white cover. Dynamite 4 of 5, the Perio cover. Department of Truth issue 5. Got a couple of the Betty Page comics. Got the Lensner, and I don't know the artist on that cover. Dark Knight's Death Metal #7. That's awesome. Last two Truth Box comics that came, the Marvel Zombies Resurrection and Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy #1. So, quick note on those comics from Comics Elite. I'm pretty disappointed. They were damaged in shipment. So I showed them all to you. Again, very hard for me to show damages on the webcam that I took. I sent them an email, showed them some photos of what happened. It's stuff it's hard to pick up in a camera, but basically, I ordered some little golden books for my daughter, and they were packed in the middle of the comics, and the comics all kind of were bowed around those little golden books in the middle, and then taped really tight on each end. So because of that, a lot of the comics have spine depressions or ticks or bends where they were bent over. Yeah, just some pretty bad damages from that shipment. I emailed them. We'll see what they say. It sucks. I moved on from Things from Another World because of some of the issues with the quality of the comics I was getting. It wasn't with them, it wasn't mostly shipping. I feel like what it really was with them is, as a comic seller, as a comic owner, a comic shop owner, when you get comics in, not all of them come perfect. And I know there's a process. I don't know the details of the process, but I know there's a process for returning those copies and getting new ones. Of course, not every comic comes as a 9.8. That's just a wild misconception. It's a much smaller percentage than ones that don't come as a 9.8. But some of these comics were really badly damaged from Things from Another World. So I went away from them because of that. And I think it was just because they weren't really returning their damages, or they were just sending them out and saying like, maybe the customers won't care. I don't know what it was, but I was pretty unhappy with the quality. This, I don't think Comics Elite has that problem. I think they do send back damages. I've kind of seen enough of them talking about it and their owner talking about it that I think that's the case. This was just poor packing. You know, all the packing material around the comics were fine, although tight, which helped put the pressure on those points that were already stressed on the comic. And unfortunately, a lot of them just arrived damaged. So I'll have to see what Comics Elite wants to do about that. Maybe I'll be sending some of those comics back and they'll be replacing them. I really don't know. Hopefully they do something to kind of make that right, and I'll reserve judgment for now. That's it for this batch of comics. There might be some more I'm rolling in after this. I might be changing my shirt or something. Like I said, I'm gonna kind of store up the ones throughout the week and kind of show you them all in one video, because I think that's a little bit cooler format than a couple smaller videos a week where I just show a few comics. All right, and the last thing for this week that we're gonna add to the haul list is some stuff I got from a live claim auction on Instagram. I picked up some Spawn books. Let's check them out. So this is a new seller on Instagram for me that I haven't purchased from before. I haven't really talked about this, but I do like Instagram sellers. The comics community on Instagram is pretty healthy. Tend to police their own if there's any issues. First thing I got is a copy of Spawn #2. It's a great, all the early Spawn covers are awesome. I see like one spine tick on that without taking it out of the bag. All right, next up is my second copy now of Spawn #9, and the first appearance of Angela, who's bound to be coming to the MCU. I think this is in better shape than my other copy. I see one, maybe two non-color breaking spine ticks, but just for first appearance covers, it doesn't get much better than that. That's just a really cool shot of Angela. All right, so the next one I got in this bunch was Spawn 61, and that's the first cameo of Jessica Priest, who becomes the She-Spawn. Looks like you got a couple small ticks on that one, but I paid $5 for it, so not too bad. I think I forgot to mention Spawn 2. These are all pretty much some type of key. Spawn 2 is the first appearance of the Clown. You know, the character who's essentially the human husk for Violator, which is interesting. Almost think that would be the first appearance of Violator. Depends on how you look at it, I guess. So next up, you got a classic cover by Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo, like I know him or something. Spawn 88, kind of that classic Halloween cover with the jack-o'-lantern and the black cat and everything. That's pretty cool. Yeah, one little tick on that one. Another classic cover by the two most famous Spawn creators, Spawn 97, classic Angela cover. And yeah, that's also a really sweet cover. A little bit of spine roll from sitting in a long box, too tight or something. But other than that, it's in good shape. And then looks like the seller threw in a freebie. We got Spawn Godslayer. And that looks like it's in well-loved shape, but hey, it's a freebie, so whatever. Classic 90s Spawn art. You know, pretty cool stuff. Anyways, that's cool, you know, throwing in freebies. I'll probably give it away to somebody down the road or pass it on or whatever. So that's neat. So that should be my last shipment that I'm getting for the week. So this concludes another week of comic hauls. Hopefully you like this new format. I'm very curious to see what you think in the comments down below. Let me know. I always love input. I'm still a pretty new channel. I'm definitely trying to figure all this stuff out. I just know it's cool to see what other people get. It's just been a heavy couple of weeks because there's a lot of hot covers that have come out and a lot of keys. All the High Republic stuff, the Amazing Spider-Man 55. And I still have more of that stuff coming from Comics Elite for my shipment for that same week. It got delayed because I included Wolverine 3 Black, White, and Blood, which is a fight between Wolverine and Cosmic Ghost Rider written by Donny Cates, which is pretty cool. But that got delayed until February 10th. So that whole shipment got delayed because of that, because I had that issue on there. So it's just how it is. Oh, and I have a note too. So when I was doing my Comics Elite shipment, I mentioned that there was a lot of damages in there. So I wanted to update you with how that got resolved. Comics Elite asked for photos of each comic and a list of comics that were damaged, and they just are sending out new ones for all of them. Totally, free shipment, no shipping or anything like that. And that's the right way to do it. I ended up missing a comic from my Things from the Another World shipment. That was supposed to be the Ice Cream Man. I can't remember if it was issue 22, the Advent calendar cover. That wasn't in my shipment from Things from Another World. It was on the invoice marked as 0 that they sent, the packing sheet. And on my account, I paid for it. So, and then as I showed you in that video, my King in Black Lashley spoiler variant cover totally damaged on the corner. So I emailed them about that. Haven't heard back from them yet, and we'll see what they say. But yeah, this has been another week of a comic haul, and I'll have a new one next week, and we'll see what I get. And as always, I just want to thank you for watching. Go ahead and leave some comments down below. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you picked up this week. Let me know what you want to see in the future. And I just want you to remember, as always, hey. Read comics every day.